opportunity. Now for our second panel discussion, we will have the Brazilian perspective on semiconductor and industrial policy. We will have Mr. Felipe Giesteira, Director of the Department of Development of High Technological Complexity Industry from the Ministry of Development, Industry, Trade and Services, MDIC. He'll be presenting Secretary Wallace Moreira, who can't be with us, unfortunately, with us this evening. So, Mr. Giesteira, just a quick introduction, is a member of the Specialist in Public Policies and Government Management, EPPGG career since 1997. He has worked as an advisor and also as an executive on economic matters, especially on topics relating to industrial competition and technological innovation policies. He has a bachelor degree and a master's degree in economics and a PhD in economic theory. Mr. Giesteira, you have the floor for 10 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chen.
No problem. Floor is yours.
Are you hearing to me perfectly?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, good evening, everybody. I must start apologizing for the absence of my secretary, Mr. Wallace Moreira. He's truly, it was truly impossible to him to be here because, as you surely know, we live in a ministry and also in the vice presidency here. So sometimes it's the vice president that's calling him, and he has no freedom to choose his agenda. So I really apologize for that. I'll try to do my best. I thank you. I thank for Brazilian embassy and all Brazilian government colleagues, both in Malaysia and Brazil. And of course, I also salute the Malaysian representatives and stakeholders that are listening to me this evening in Kuala Lumpur. Well, I'm afraid I will be a little repetitive after Secretary Henrique told a few words, but if I see that I'm starting to be a little over that, I'll jump to the next point. But I don't have slides, and I'll just speak on my presentation, which is called the Semiconductor Industry in the New Brazilian Industrial Policy. And as you pointed out, it has many similarities with the industrial policy master plan, Malaysian master plan. Well, starting with a very brief historical taking stock, I could say, Brazil was among the first countries in the world to develop a chip in the USP, University of São Paulo Microelectronics Laboratory in 1971. So as far as I know, it was among the six countries that first got to produce and test successfully a chip. And until the end of the 80s, this initiative, always with strong government support, evolved into the formation of a very complete ecosystem based on ICTs, Science and Technology Institutions, and nationally owned companies, and integrated into the so-called National Information Technology Policy, as we use it to call it by up to the 1990s. This policy was subject to of great controversy in Brazil in the last decades of the last century. It was originally born linked to the national security policy. As you know, Brazil had an authoritarian regime by that time. But even after Brazil redemocratized it in 1984, this policy was supported by the developmentalist wing of the civil government, we may say. despite being affected by the strong economic slowdown in the 80s in Brazil due to the debt crisis. And I think most of you know, but Brazil was a very dynamic economy, growing close to 7% GDP growth, 7% a year for more than 30 years. Even so, some results of this, what I call the National Information Technology Policy, were good, were important. We could say that practically all segments of the ICT chain had Brazilian companies operating. And Brazil was one of the first countries to develop fiber, I don't know the optical fiber, I think it's the name in English, and advanced technology, telephone centrals, and was among the global leaders in banking computing. I'm talking about something like 1986 and 87. And almost all of large universities in Brazil had good computer and electronic engineering courses, and some of their labs develop projects on advanced topics in the field. Nevertheless, in the early 90s, Brazil was relatively behind in many niches, and but enjoyed functional. We could say that enjoyed functional self-sufficiency. So it was technologically lagging behind, but we have a sizable, important, even very inward-oriented ICT ecosystem. Among this, in the system, we have a sizable semiconductor industry and some science and technology institutions. Well, but then came the liberal shocks starting in 1990. And from this year up to 2005, Brazil experienced a period of true industrial policy. Although some science and technology institutions have survived and even prospered, Brazilian industry has almost completely disappeared in those 15 years. From 2005 onwards, Brazil resumed industrial policy for the sector, and which has the PADIS, the support program for technological development of the semiconductor and display industry, as the leader of this new industrial policy. In addition, as Henrique has previously mentioned, we created two state-owned or with large state participation companies, which are Ceitec and Unitec, one of them in Rio Grande do Sul and the other in Minas Gerais. PADIS had to be reformulated together with other programs after Brazil was defeated in a panel in the WTO, led by Japan and the European Union in 2016. Even so, and even with the serious economic crisis that reduced Brazilian GDP by almost 10% between 2015 and 2017, it can be said that the program, I mean PADIS, has achieved significant successes. Currently, the program promotes financial credit of nearly $120 million per year, and this level has been growing slowly, very slowly, but it has not prevented Brazilian industry from growing from a turnover of less than $100 million in 2010 to more than $1 billion last year, I mean 2022. With similar growth in exports, we are very, very tiny shareholder for world exports in this segment, of course, but it's growing, and also in R&D. To give you a broader perspective, Brazilian electronic industry as a whole is only 18th globally, compared to a GDP that's 9th. And it's very, very inward oriented, as it was from the beginning, from the start in the 70s. An outstanding feature of our productive and innovation system is that Brazil kept advancing in science and technology, while our manufacturing sector is in fact stagnant. Maybe the complexity indexes of Hausmann and Hidalgo, many of you I'm sure know them, can give you a good measure of the resultant asymmetry. Brazil ranks 49th in economic complexity, 2021. Malaysia, just to have a comparison, is 24th, much smaller economy, but it's 24th in economic complexity. But we are 12th in technology compared to 38th from Malaysia to Malaysia, and 20th in science. And we are improving our position in technology and science, but our economic complexity keeps going down. It's really not a good news for economists. And but 5 months ago, as you surely know, Brazilian resumed industrial policy at a strategic level, because as you know, PAGIS never stopped. It goes up and down, but it started in 2007, and then it kept going for all these years, even the new liberal years. And but now we are resuming more strategic industrial policy, which has no very interesting name. It's just new industrial policy, and but it's also inspired by the Mariana Mazzucato approach of missions. And I'll name those missions, just 6 missions, and just to be more aware of what we are trying to do the next 4 years here. It's the first is the sustainable and digital agro-industrial chains for food, nutritional, and energy security. So we are concerned about our foods national security here, but we are also very concerned about our capabilities to have to some degree autonomous dynamism in this sector. The second is resilient health industrial complex to reduce our health system vulnerabilities, which we could see during the COVID pandemics, and expand access to health of the population, which is rather good in Brazil nowadays. The third is sustainable infrastructure. The fourth is digital transformation in the industry with a focus on productivity. And fifth, bioeconomy, decarbonization, and energy transition. And sixth, and it's the last one, technologies of interest of national sovereignty and defense. I think that we are still working on the specific actions, initiatives, acts we will take regarding these main missions. We are trying to make goals for them, and in fact, this week we are in several meetings very close to the place where I'm talking to you. But let me talk a little more about what Henrique Miguel promised me to do. I will talk a little about our new version of PAGIS, which is it's a law.
Mr. Giesteira, you got to finish soon, huh?
Yes. Just 3 more minutes. Among those new actions, there's the creation of a management council, and we're trying to address a better governance of the whole industrial policy for the semiconductor sector here. We also authorize our 2 main agencies, which are BNDES and FINEP, to create long-term credit lines to even to guarantee finance direct capital and funding costs. And we are also aiming at infrastructure, the whole infrastructure, information technology infrastructure, and also the acquisition of machinery and equipment, and and also new labs, new infrastructure for R&D. Third, there's the expansion of the possibility of purchasing inputs with tax reliefs. It's a very, very large list. I won't list them, but I'm totally able to give you more details on that. We have a new category of final product that can be produced, that can be elected for Pagis grants, with our systems that enable the machine module and electronic device that uses semiconductors. So we are looking at some demand incentives here. And also we have a new list of activities that can be considered eligible to receive resources of R&D. And last but not least, we have qualified legal entity invests in the country, trying to grow the R&D investment to 5% of the total turnover. We have another minor modifications in our present law, but we are pretty sure that we'll make this total of resources that could be used to make our semiconductor industry grow. We are expecting that to grow like threefold in the next 3 or 4 years. And I'm sorry to have passed 5 minutes my time, and but that's my message. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Giesteira. Thank you very much.